welcome back to a new episode of the Women's Strength Society show. Today with the topic, what it really takes, step by step, to actually look like you lift in 12 months from now. So we are diving fully into how we set that up for our ladies so they can look significantly different in 1 year time.
Yes, and before we go into it, this is the continuation of the episode that we did last time on why chasing body recomp is actually preventing you from actually looking like you lift and makes you waste years of your body transformation journey. If you haven't listened to that one, then definitely give it a listen, either before you tune into this one or after, so that you have a bit more context of where exactly we're coming from with that. And so the women we are talking about and also talking to is the woman who wants to look like she lifts. And it means that what she's chasing is most likely visible abs, definition in the shoulders and abs, tight legs, maybe even some definition in the quads, which is pretty much next level of leanness, round glutes, tight waist. Did I forget anything?
A strong back, of course.
Oh, a strong back, obviously, so that you can flex and see all of those details in the mirror or in the red dress, obviously. So this is kind of the premise of what we are going to talk about. And so the argument that we made in the last episode was to say, don't try to body recomp. This is not going to work. Trying to build muscle and lose fat at the same time is a very inefficient way to go about it, because one of the main reasons is because physiologically speaking, losing body fat is going to happen at least 4 times faster than increasing muscle mass. And so you want to focus on one and then on the other, because it's going to be more efficient, but also they require slightly different strategies, especially when it comes to your food intake. And it's going to help immensely with your focus and decision making if you have one priority and this is what you are working on right now, and then you focus on the other one. Just before we go into the strategy and the tactics, there's one thing you need to understand though. Even though we say you want to focus on one and then the other, you are always strength training. You are always lifting weight if your goal is to look like you lift, and you are always trying to get stronger as you do that, because this is something that does not stop even though you're in a fat loss phase. You just want to, at the very least, retain your muscle mass and potentially increase your strength even in a fat loss phase. And this is something that is going to happen because you lift weight and you lift as though you're trying to build muscle. So even though the phase is not going to be purely focused around muscle growth, this is still something that is underlying and that you try to achieve at any point in time.
So when I started to finally tap into focusing on one thing at a time, one goal at a time, this is really where my results picked off. It was in 2019. I committed to working with a coach on training and nutrition for the first time ever. Before that, I had a personal trainer that I went to. I worked with Yannick on nutrition. I had a training app, all those things. But it was never pieced together, let's say it like that. And this is how we developed also our method over the last couple of years, the metabolic match method, which brings together and matches your training and nutrition with the long-term strategy of transforming your body. And so today we will go into that long-term strategy and how it needs to be built on each other to create those visible results in your body, while also having the highest level of performance and overall like health that you can have, because that's always our goal, is not only to change the physique and chase the aesthetics just for the sake of it, but also make sure that you can perform your best in the gym, feel amazing, have good digestion, sleep, menstrual cycle if you have still one, or a good hormone like profile, good stress management, and all those things, right? You don't want to feel miserable getting to your body. We want to feel great. You want to enjoy the process, and it should really fire you up. And that's something that I have uncovered for myself when I did that, like when I finally got into matching training and nutrition and I had that long-term strategy, is I went from chasing fat loss and muscle growth at the same time, not going anywhere, being very frustrated, having a ton of health issues, and just not feeling great in my own skin. Like my reflection in the mirror, I looked worse than when I started my journey. And so when I finally dialed in my long-term body transformation strategy, this is where I found the spark and the joy in the process. And this is what we are giving our ladies, the ladies that we work with, is finding that joy in the body transformation journey, because it becomes something that, you know, fires you up. It gives you the results that you're looking for. You're still working very hard, right? Nothing comes from quick fixes and just being focused on this for like 4 weeks before your holidays and then dropping off. You do have to put the work in, but if you put the work in and you're getting out of it what you put in, that's just an amazing feeling. And then seeing that you did that on your like own, that you created those results. I mean, nowadays you can do a lot with like plastic surgery and injections
And
to
drugs,
change your body, but there are certain things that you cannot buy, which is next to the like aesthetics that nowadays you can buy a little bit, is the health and the performance. And that's why for us it's always important to put those three big pieces together and make sure that you are thriving in all of those areas. And so when it comes to a long-term transformation, the one thing or the one missing piece for all women that we work with is the starting point, like understanding where are you currently at. Yesterday I had a workshop and we were talking exactly about that. So right now we are running the Sculpt Challenge. If you're interested in that, you can get on the wait list for the next one in a couple of weeks' time. And so during the Sculpt Challenge, what we do with our ladies is helping them understand where they're currently at in their journey, because that will set them up for the long-term success. We are not here to drop you in a, 4-week shred where we are getting some amazing screenshots of your weight chart and maybe some drastic changes in your body composition because you dropped some body fat very fast, but in a year from now you just feel like miserable and like shit, right? And you're putting everything back on. We are the coaches who are like, hey, we want to have amazing results 1, 2, 3 years down the line. I want to have pictures of my clients thriving. That's the goal. And so I just want to say that out loud so that you understand better what we stand for and what you can expect when working with us, being in our world.
Amen.
And so the first thing that we need to do is understand where you're currently at. We do that going through a discovery phase. That's how we like to call it. It's where we will test how much calories your body needs, what kind of macros your body needs, like how is your body responding to the changes that we are making when it comes to nutrition, but then also on the flip side to your training program. Because most often, yes, the ladies that work with us are already strength training, maybe doing some form of cardio, but they're doing it differently than we are doing it. And so instead of, changing everything, your nutrition and your training, and then going straight into a phase without even understanding what your body actually needs. We really slow down at the very beginning. And I know it's hard because if you are like, okay, now I want to change something, I want to drop fat and I want to build muscle, then you are like on it. You want the results. And we really try to slow you a little bit down for like 2 weeks time and really make sure that we are having a look at your intake form, at your progress pictures, at your strength levels, because all of those things, all of those details tell us a lot about your current state that you are in, that your body is in, and what you're actually ready for to do next. Based on that, we will then decide which phase is the best phase for you.
Yeah. But before we do that, like, just so that you understand, we really look into the details, and we really try to match the training and nutrition so that not only the macros and the calories are set, but also the meal timing and your food choices. Because what we see very, very often is, despite women coming to us saying or thinking that they are doing everything right, then most of the time the meal timing is not dialed in to improve hunger management, but also performance and metabolic health. But also, like, I must say, I'm always surprised, but food choices are very often not that great. And so macros and calories are great, but it's not the only thing that matters. You also need, fibers, not just fibers that have been added to a bread, so that you can say that you eat high fiber.
Or to cereals, right?
Yeah, or to cereals. Like sometimes when we look at like the Kellogg's package, it stays like high fiber. I'm like,
we always need to laugh.
Yeah, not really. So we look at that. Food choices have to be dialed in. It makes it much easier to make changes in body composition. And this is valid not only when you try to drop body fat, but also when you want to build muscle, because what you are going to give your body in terms of nutrient is going to have a pretty profound impact on your ability to improve body composition. And part of it is also muscle growth. And muscle growth it's really like super difficult to do. It's the part of the process that's the most lengthy and tedious and challenging, especially for women, because sometimes it comes with, or not sometimes, but always, when you do put some mass on your frame, then it comes with, body weight increase. And this is always something that's psychologically a bit challenging. So anyways, this is super important to really manage the macronutrient and food choices as well. And on the training side, it's not only about like training close to failure, but it's also about making sure that the execution of the movement is great, that you are able to control, the tempo, that the volume is actually enabling you to make progress week on week, but also to recover from that. And most of the time when the ladies come to us, they are surprised by how little, how little they are working out. And very often one feedback that we get, or one aha moment that they have, is like, oh, less is more, and I did not realize, but I don't have to push myself all the time. And what I like to say is like, hey, this is great, but trust me, there also comes a point in your journey where doing more is actually needed, but you have to build the capacity to be able to do that. And so at the very beginning, we have to most of the time like dial things down so that you can actually recover, so that the quality of your training can increase. Sometimes we also have to, decrease a bit the strength training, but increase a bit the cardio to improve your metabolic state. This is something that we do at the beginning to really match training and nutrition. And this is really the purpose of the discovery phase, hence the name. You want to discover that kind of things, because although we have like all the principles and all the levers mapped out, how you specifically is going to respond to that, to the changes that we make, is going to be different. Some women need like 4 strength training per week. Some only need 3, and it's actually better to reduce that. And so this is just one example, of course, but we have to see like what happens when we make those changes, how your body responds to that. And if you do it well, then it takes like roughly 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes a bit longer. In that time, we also want to make sure that you have some systems in place so that being accurate and consistent down the road is going to be very convenient and easy. Because if you are constantly like struggling to hit certain targets, then it's going to be very difficult. And once this is set, once we've discovered what we need to discover, then we go into the next phase. And for most women that we work with, the next phase is going to be a fat loss phase.
Yes. And I talked about that during the workshop yesterday. So why we most of the time need a fat loss phase first is because the long-term goal is to build muscle, right? You want to add muscle mass to your body. We need that. We need that to create the shape in your body and be a healthy, strong human being for the rest of your life. But to do that, we also need to put you or get your body into a state, into a place where muscle growth can happen better. And not only like from a physiological standpoint, but also from your mindset. If you have not mastered yet fat loss without feeling like a piece of shit, then and losing intentionally body fat. If you have not mastered that yet, you will not be mentally, probably, I have never seen a woman who was then mentally ready for a long building phase. And we need a long building phase because muscle growth really takes time, not only because it takes time, but also because you need a couple of months, I would say, to even get into the groove of building, to get into the habit of like, oh, this is how it feels like in the gym, but also when it comes to your nutrition, like getting comfortable with it, with that kind of phase, because most women have never done it before. Maybe tried a little bit for a couple of weeks and then they felt bulky and then they went back into a deficit. This is what usually happens. That's the hamster wheel you are on. But we want to create enough room going through that fat loss phase so that you can have a longer building phase. And we want to exhaust the fat loss phase as best as we can. Now, if you are very, very new to like training and food tracking and all those things, then you will probably get how can I say that? Then fat loss is most of the time a skill development phase. Like you will drop body fat, but it's mainly about like you will drop some body fat, but it's mainly about you understanding the phase and really dialing it in, understanding how to pick your foods, like the food choices that will impact your hunger massively so that you don't have the cravings, so that you have the meal timing structure ready and like food tracking becomes second nature and all those things. Navigating social situations, like how do you handle all this food tracking while being away, while being on a work trip, while being on holidays with the family. Like, how do you navigate those kind of things? Once you have gone through like one fat loss phase, the next fat loss phase will 100% be easier and better in terms of results that you are getting out of it, in terms of like purely like metrics, how much body fat you are going to lose. But we need that first like fat loss phase, again, to get leaner, lean out, and then be able to build muscle on that. Otherwise, what we have seen times and times again from women who like came to us is they have done the cuts. They have done the like fat loss phases before. Most of them have achieved to be in a deficit and drop weight. But either the fat loss phase was like too short, or it was very long, but the weight loss was pretty low. And so what we need to do is we chase very specific metrics when it comes to being in a fat loss phase. And yes, we are using your body weight. Oh my gosh. how can we do that, right? Body weight is not everything. It doesn't matter how much you weigh. It just matters how much, like, how you feel. And yes, it comes down to like what you like to see in the mirror. The body fat percentage, the body fat percentage means nothing if you are not looking lean and crisp when you look at yourself in the mirror. Same for the body weight, but the body weight is one metric that we do use day in, day out, and that we track throughout the fat loss phase to make decisions in the process. And that's why we need the body weight. And there is also a correlation between your height, your strength numbers, and your body weight. And what we can predict how lean you will look at the end of your fat loss phase, hitting a certain body weight. And so we definitely set a number for our clients of a body weight goal that we are shooting for going through a fat loss phase that is typically between 12 to 24 weeks long.
Yes.
And during that time, most often it's like rarely 12 weeks. Most of our ladies do have a little bit more body fat to lose. So it's more like 16 to 24. Especially when you have some buffer weeks where you're maybe doing a diet break and so forth and so on. But we are saying like the range is 12 to 24 weeks for a fat loss phase. And the weekly rate of loss that we are shooting for is 0.8% of your starting body weight per week. This is what we are shooting for. And it's so important that during the time that we are going through that phase, we are tracking all of the important metrics to see if we are on track. Because if you are not on track going through your fat loss phase, you are just turning it into the marshmallow strategy, how I like to call it. It's like making your fat loss phase so long.
That's the chewing gum strategy.
What did I say?
The marshmallow.
The marshmallow is the quick one.
Yeah.
The marshmallow is the right one. Sorry. The chewing gum strategy is this chewing gum strategy where you are like extending your fat loss phase more and more and more and more, with having very slow fat loss happening on the scale. We don't want that because the goal is to get into the fat loss phase, reap the benefits, and get out of it so that we can focus on getting stronger and building muscle.
And this is the marshmallow strategy because it's like, when you are camping and then you do a campfire and you are going to do your marshmallows
short and crispy.
Then you want to have the exact right length. Yes. To make the marshmallow crisp on the outside, get some colors but not burned, and be like soft on the inside and slightly chewy, but also not melt down.
Exactly.
And this is the opposite of the chewing gum strategy. Is like when you step on a chewing gum on the street and then your foot come off and then the chewing gum is just like sticking to your shoe and your foot and to the floor, and it's like, blah, what is that?
Thank you for correcting me.
So yeah, I think it's a very visual image, and I was like, wait, there's something. No,
there's something wrong.
So we want the marshmallow strategy, and so this is where it gets tricky because a lot of women, they have difficulty assessing where they are, and so it happens sometimes that even if someone is already pretty lean or slightly on the underweight side, but not really looking as tight and as crisp as they think they should be, then they still think that they want to lose weight. And so in this challenge, we have 2 ladies where it's the case. So it's less than 10%. And so most of the time on the flip side, what we see is that women tend to, and not only women because men do that too, but they tend to underestimate how much muscle they have, and they
overestimate how much muscle they have.
Now it's me mixing up. So overestimate the marshmallow and underestimate the chewing gum. No, overestimate the muscle and underestimate how much body fat they need to lose in order to be able to look defined. And so we use those objective metrics, and yes, it has to do with body weight and even like BMI. Also another one that's like crazy, but we use that to give us direction. And it's not that we're attached to those numbers. Sometimes we might end up like higher, or sometimes we might end up lower than that. Ultimately, as you said, like what matters is how you feel, but also how you look. But this gives like pretty solid direction, and it really helps to assess the progress that you are making over time. And so we go through that fat loss phase, and then you are in a calorie deficit. We manage the macros so that you try to be the least hungry, to maintain your performance, but also drop your body fat at good rate. And then once you have achieved all of that and you're at the end of your FLP, then what happens next is the reverse.
And how much is an average weight loss that you see happening in 6 months?
So the ladies who are like very successful and make really good changes in their body composition and in their look, roughly around 20 pounds, around like 18 to 24 weeks is what we look at. So it can be slightly less than 20 pounds. It can go up to 30 pounds. But that's roughly the target that we have for most women. In kilo, it's going to be around like 10 to 12 kilos. Sometimes it can be even more. But what we see most of the time is it becomes more difficult once you've lost that, because for most women, it's going to be 15 to 20% of their total body mass, which is very significant. So once you lose that, then most of the time you need a quick reset. You need a break from doing a fat loss phase, because otherwise you just like banging your head against the wall. And at that point, you will have make like significant changes in your body composition and in your look. You might not look like totally photo shoot ready, crisp, absolutely shredded, but the difference will be visible at this point. So once you've achieved that, then we go into the reverse. And the goal here is to get you out of a calorie deficit gradually so that you can recover from the stress and the exhaustion from the fat loss phase. Because if you push it that far, which is most of the time needed, then you will definitely notice some side effect of a calorie deficit. The people who tell you that you will never experience hunger or fatigue or symptoms related to being in a calorie deficit for a longer time and to losing that weight, they are full of shit. Yeah, I was like trying to find another way to put it.
Just be honest.
More diplomatically and honor my Swiss background, but let's be blunt. Like they are full of shit if they are telling you that you can just go through that kind of fat loss phase without ever being hungry. They don't know what they're talking about. So anyways, we go through the reverse so that those symptoms can disappear, so that you can recover. It's going to help, improve your recovery, your performance in the gym. You're going to feel more energized. And the goal is to maintain essentially the results of the fat loss as much as possible. You will regain some weight in that period of time. It will happen. That's absolutely fine. But we want to make it like in a controlled way.
And that's why we also like to, overshoot a little bit the fat loss goal. Sometimes we are like, okay, I feel very good at this weight currently. This what I see with clients happening, and then I'm like, okay, good. That's a good for me to know. That's the goal, right? You need to feel great in your skin and like what you look when you like what you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. And then I know like, okay, this is actually the weight where she would like to sit at like maintenance. So then I can assess or adjust the fat loss phase, the fat loss goal, so that I'm overshooting it a little bit, because we know for a fact that in a reverse diet, you will gain 1-2 kilo back. maybe even like 3, because you're just having more food in your stomach, in your gut, and glycogen in your muscles. So you are filled up more. And it's going to take 4 to 8 weeks. Most of the time it's 6 weeks, but depending on how lean you got after the fat loss phase, it's either shorter or longer. If you haven't been like super duper lean, it will be a longer reverse diet. If you have been like super duper lean, then it will be a shorter reverse diet, because we need to get you back to more food as quickly as we can. And you will also see that the leaner you are, the more you will soak up all the food. Like you will even sometimes drop a little bit of weight. I had that with one lady. She lost 15 kilo in the last year. We started her reverse diet. She's super committed and dedicated and following exactly what I'm telling her to do. And we are in 1 week of the reverse, and she lost even more weight. So that's a sign of like, okay, I can push the calories up, especially the carbs, because her body will like literally be like a sponge taking in all of those carbs that I'm giving her.
Yeah, talking about commitment and being disciplined and going after your goals. The next episode is going to be about, the mindset and identity shift that needs to take place to be able to implement that kind of transformation. So right now we are giving you, some of the tactics and structures and strategies that you need in order to create the change in body composition, the visible changes in your look. But this is something that is going to be very difficult to implement without certain, beliefs and identity. How do you say that? Traits, maybe.
Traits, yeah.
that you have, or maybe that you need to make happen in order to be successful. And so this will be the topic of the next episode. So if you're interested in checking that out, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, and also it's always super helpful to engage with the content, to drop a like, because then you are more likely the next time that you come into the app to be shown our content, and so this way you're not going to forget it. So we appreciate you for doing this. And the phase that comes after the reverse is going to be a pretty short like maintenance phase, where we just want to make sure, first off, that you are able to maintain your weight, but also that the reverse was completed. And so sometimes what we see is that even at the end of the end of the reverse, we thought it was already maintenance, but then a few weeks into maintenance, maybe it happens after 4 or 6 weeks, then we hear again like, hey, I don't know what's happening, I'm super hungry, my energy is dropping again. We might see like a very slight tendency of the weight to go down again, and it's like, okay, it's a sign that we need to bump up the calories again to be at true maintenance. And this is going to take like 2 to 3 months for like most women. And then after that, we're going to a lean build, right?
Yes. We are going to focus on building a muscle. And I think 98% of women who come to us have never done a very good building phase. And when I'm saying like really good building phase, I'm talking about not just thinking that you have built some muscle, but knowing that you have put on some good quality muscle mass and that you have executed your building phase to the best of your ability, right? I'm not talking about those 10-week building phases, even 12-week building phases, and then doing another fat loss phase, or even shorter than that. I've heard women doing even shorter building phases. I'm like, not much will happen in 3 months. Like, you definitely need to put some work, some time into that goal. And it's very hard. There are not a lot of women who are willing to do that kind of work. That's why not every woman looks like she lifts. I would argue that. I think the fat loss part is quote unquote the easy part. It's not easy. It's hard. It's hard work. I'm not gonna deny it. But in comparison to the building phase, it definitely takes some guts to go through a summer and not be lean, right? It takes some like, okay, I'm doing this shit, and this is now more important than jumping around lean in a bikini next summer. You need to be okay with giving that up. We will talk about that in the next episode, as you said, the mindset that plays a big part, a big role in creating those changes. But we definitely need the building phase, because you're not going to create a body that looks like you lift. Okay, lift, not do Pilates, but lift, if you are not growing muscle mass.
Yeah, and so I think the difficulty with the building phase is simply because the speed at which you are able to create new muscle is very, very slow. And so when you are going through the fat loss phase, you have a positive feedback loop that happens fairly quickly, be it with the number on the scale. So you see that you put your effort in, and then something changes as a result. And first it's going to be the number on the scale. Then you are going to see the measurements that are going to change. Maybe your pants are going to sit a bit looser, and then at some point you are going to see the difference when you look at yourself in the mirror. And some people around you are also going to look at you and say like, oh, you've lost a bunch of weight, your face is going to look slightly different. Whereas in a building phase, this is not going to happen. You are going to put a lot of effort into your workout, which is not easy to do, because when you truly apply progressive overload weeks on end, then it becomes very challenging. And you're also going to be dialed in with your nutrition to really ensure that the weight that you put on is going to be quality weight, like lean mass. But the truth is, even when you do that, then you are not going to gain a lot of weight. And we had one lady go through a very, very good building phase in the last few months since the beginning of the year. And it was hard, but it was also very interesting from a coaching perspective, because there was a few check-in that she was doing on a regular basis, saying like, hey, it's hard, my body is not changing, and so forth and so on. And I think it was maybe a month ago, she posted like pictures of her, and she was like, hey, I cannot see any difference, but I'm now 6 pounds heavier. And I'm like, that's the best case scenario, because it means that if you don't look any different, then your body composition is still great. It means that most of the weight that you've put on comes from actual muscle. And this is the reason why you cannot see any difference, is because you are still very lean and very defined, but we know objectively that you are heavier, which means that the likelihood of you putting on more muscle is actually very high, especially because she'd gotten much stronger in that period of time.
Which also means she just needs more time to put on more muscle mass to then see it more, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because you are gaining muscle mass, but it's not like in one area. It's like spread across your whole body. And so if you are going through a building phase of 6 months, you will gain some muscle mass, but it's not crazy that you, like, when you're putting pictures next to each other, that you're like, whoa, this looks like absolutely crazy different. And so that's, as you said, a best case scenario. She's like, oh, I'm doing that, I'm heavier, I don't look that different. It's like, okay, then you just need more time, and what you're doing is actually working for you right now. Like, keep going. Yeah. Don't get distracted by thinking like nothing is happening and changing.
Yeah, and this is something that is challenging, especially mentally. I remember your old coach Pat Davidson saying like, hey, your mind cannot comprehend the time frames that's needed to really make that kind of changes and truly add some muscle to your frame. because it takes so long. And it's not just like so long as in trust the process and it will happen. It's like so long as in you want to be super dialed in and really like have that goal, that priority all the time, and put all of your effort into that. And this is something that's not easy to do, because it's the definition of delayed gratification. It's really just like putting the work in without seeing any changes. And then at some point you wake up and you feel like everybody around yourself is just like smaller. And then it's like, why? Why are they small? And then you flex your arm and you're like, it still looks the same. But then you see someone next to you and their arm is just like tiny, and you think like, oh, that's weird. And this is when you start to notice like, okay, the building phase is actually working.
What's the time frame and the rate of monthly gain that we are shooting for? Back to the tactics.
So what we have in our course is we set that up pretty defensively because it's challenging mentally. So we say like you go into 16 weeks of dedicated lean build, and then after this 16 week you can assess, and based on the progress that you've made, we want to not exceed more than 1% of starting body weight gain per month. So if you started at 55 kilo or 120 pounds, 21 pounds, then you want to have 1% of body weight gain per month max. And if you did 16 weeks and everything was great, then you can extend that to 2 more months. And then you reassess, and still same thing. And you can just like cruise and extend that for a very long time. But at some point it's going to be difficult, because you do increase your food intake in that period of time. And so most likely at some point you are going to, to just feel full all the time and not want to eat and be tired of eating. And at that point, what we might do is go back to maintenance and or do a mini cut. You just do that for like a few weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks max. And then once your hunger is back, then you can go back into a lean build. And so put together, this is something we recommend to stay in for roughly like 1 year. Because especially if you spend like 6 months doing a fat loss phase and you've really lost a bunch of weight, and you've made big changes in your body composition, then it's not just that you want to spend some time building, but you want to also bank some time away from a fat loss phase, so that you experience like very little to no hunger in that time. And so if you eventually go back into a fat loss phase at a later point, maybe because you want to do a photo shoot and you really want to push the envelope and challenge yourself and see how lean you can get, then in order to do that, then you want to be in a very, very good position before going into that next level fat loss phase to get shredded. And so if you can spend like a lot of time outside of it, not feeling any hunger, then this is best case scenario. So 12 months of maintenance at the very least, and or building phase is going to be super helpful for most women.
Yeah, so I was definitely doing 2 building phases of 15 months each. So I was even exceeding the 1 year mark. I can definitely, like from experience, say that it was needed. It was needed to get into the groove of being in a building phase when I did it the first time. And also, as you said, like being away from fat loss for a long time helped me to get my spark and fire back for the next fat loss phase. Like being that well fed for such a long time, at some point you are like, okay, let's see what we have created, and you get excited about being in a calorie deficit and dropping body fat again, rather than it being something that is, a little bit hard and tough and just like again eating like a mouse and feeling like shit. Like, this is not what we want. So if you can spend a lot of time away from fat loss, you will get better fat loss results the next time you are dropping into a fat loss phase. And so I think that's the one thing we are like big on, is helping our ladies to get amazing fat loss results, so that they are in the position of being like, okay, check, done, I got it, this is what I wanted, the fat loss, and now I'm actually in a position where I can dedicate myself to building muscle and getting stronger. It's something that we see over and over again. Women come to us, they want that fat loss. It's the first thing that we work on. But once we have checked the box, then it's like, oh, actually, what I want to do is build muscle and get freaking strong and become that, badass babe in the gym that can squat some heavy weights, that is not using the pink dumbbells. Like, they want to take up space and just have that presence of a woman who has that like confidence, like walking into the gym and knowing what she's actually doing, and having also the body that reflects that. And so this is what it takes to create a significant difference in your body composition, not only to drop a couple of pounds here and there and then gain it back because you just went back to what you did before, or because you thought, okay, now let's build muscle, and you did that for 4 weeks, then felt bulky because your fat loss phase before that was just not set up right, it was too short, you dropped too little body fat in that time frame. And so if those phases are not set up correctly, if they are not in the right sequence, if the length of the phase is not appropriate for your body and what you actually need, and if the execution of the phase is just half-assed, then you will not get the results, period. Like, you will look the same in a year from now. There is just no chance to get outstanding results in your body composition, which are very, very specific goals, right? Dropping body fat, improving your metabolism through a reverse diet, and then getting stronger and building muscle. Those are very, very, very specific things. And so we need to have the strategy dialed in. That's why we are talking a lot about the long-term strategy and stacking those things and building out the transformation roadmap, how we call it, for our ladies. That includes all of those phases individually put together for them. It's very important. So that's the only way to actually look like you lift and get that body recomp effect that you are after, right?
So body recomp effect.
The body recomp is not one phase where you are just eating in a mild deficit and lifting and staying consistent and trusting the process. Actually, what you want, the body recomp effect, is broken down in different phases over time, not only a year, but you can like spin that even further. I've spent my 5 years going through the different phases of body transformation to have that physique that I have now and that I can maintain without tracking my food every day. And so it's always about like, where are you currently at? Where do you want to go? And then how can we bridge the gap? And between those two things, we need that long-term strategy in place. It's like with everything. I mean, building a house, you're also just not starting to build it tomorrow. You will make your plan, you will hire an architect, and you will have someone like put some thought into what needs to be done first, so that you have that beautiful, big, bright house that you are shooting for.
Talking about thought, this is the topic of next week.
Yes.
Mindset, identity shifts that are needed to create that kind of transformation. And so if you want to really have the glue that's going to make the everything stick, then tune in next week.
Until next time, bye-bye.